And also now we'd like to present our first speaker, Jupiter Peraza. Jupiter Peraza is a transgender advocate, community organizer, policymaker, SFSU alum, and DACA recipient from Mexico. She is a former sitting member of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee, a fellow from the Women's Foundation of California, Dr. Solis Policy Institute, the former director of social justice and empowerment initiatives at the Transgender District, and the original author of Transgender History Month. Welcome to the stage, Jupiter Peraza.
Check, 1, 2.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to, buenas noches, to begin. Good evening. My name is Jupiter. Although we might not know each other, I want to get to know you. And I didn't prepare any remarks today because it was so important for me to be present, right? I wanted to show up in a state of reflection, not only as to what is going on regarding our trans siblings, but also what's going on in our country, right? And it was important for me to come forth with the intention of forming a connection, because I think that that's so important right now. I do want to hold space for us to be reminded that we are in the struggle together, right? I know that there are concerted efforts to divide us, to splinter us into factions, so we cannot come together and work towards something, right? I also think about that we exist in a capitalist society that cares about individualism. And because of that, it's hard to show up for one another as the way that we should, right? I also acknowledge that our community has a history of standing up for what we believe in, and sometimes doing so can cost arguments. It can cause tension. But above all, I think it's so important to always come back to each other, right? And TDOR is always such a heavy day for me, at least, and I know for many of us that is too. And it doesn't help what we see in the media, right? It doesn't help that somebody that we know has become a victim of transphobic violence. And I always try to repurpose that into something actionable, because I refuse to allow our trans siblings to be taken from us and us sit idly without doing anything, right? For me personally, somebody that was really close to me that passed at the beginning of 2023, a trans sibling of mine, her name was Ivory Nicole Smith. Yes. And as time has gone on, I have truly realized the impact that Ivory had on me. And although I might not have realized that, when she passed, as months go by and years go by, I can feel her infectious joy inside of me. I could still hear her smile. And I hold on to that during moments like this. I also make space to look within us because we have to look within us. We have to pinpoint things inside of us, whether it's trauma, whether it is an experience that prevents us from opening up and moving forward. And sometimes you ask yourself, well, why should I open up when this world is so cold, right? When this world treats us the way that they do. But I think that there is a beauty in opening up, not just for your sake, but also for the sake of your community members. Because I think that's so important. And I also think that the best way to show up for your community is to first show up for yourself, right? If there is a time in which it's hard to get out of bed, process that, sit in that, and know that it does not last forever. I also view this as an opportunity to feel emboldened and empowered, because it's what I've had to resort to, right? There are moments in which I say to myself, I am scared, right? As a trans immigrant, I am scared, but I still have to be strong, not just for myself, but also for my community as well. And that's real, right? It's real to show up for yourself in that way, because you have to. You have to in order to build solidarity and to join others in a common struggle, right? Aside from, raise your hand to this question, aside from your gender identity, how else is it that the incoming administration impacts you personally, right? For example, whether you're a person of color, whether you are an immigrant, or whether you have a disability, who here is impacted on those accounts regardless of our gender? Yeah. The reason why I asked that question is because I want us to acknowledge that we have so many things in common, right? And despite us being reduced to something, we are everything. We are not a monolith. And knowing what binds us, I think it's incredibly important in how we look to the future, right? Because there are so many other people in this world that are also struggling, that are also suffering, right? And we must be able to join those struggles as well, and to unify and to come together. I think of individuals that are fighting for reproductive justice. Yeah. I think of the suffering that is happening to the Palestinian people on the hands of genocide. I think of the people that are fighting to unionize in their workplace for livable wages, right? And so many other things. And all this to say that this is an opportunity for human connection, for looking within ourselves to be able to form connections with other people. Because let me tell you, if we are separated, we are not going to get anywhere. And I think it's so important to acknowledge that, but to also find power in that. And when I got up here, I mentioned that we might not know each other, but I want to get to know you, right? Because you are my neighbor. We share a community here in San Francisco, and you are here today for a reason. And I just want to say that, because there is something that keeps coming up for me as the days go by. And we are having so many different discussions separately without acknowledging that we must be having those discussions together. And something keeps coming up for me. And it's the saying that I discovered some years ago that a rising tide lifts all boats. And that could not be any more true now. So I encourage you, after today, tomorrow, in the coming weeks, in the coming years, to make an effort to get to know other people who you might not know, but that you've seen at a rally, that you've seen at the center, or you've seen at a community event. Somebody that is familiar to you, but you still want to get to know. I encourage you to learn their name and their story and learn something new, because learning from each other is the way that we move forward. So I want to thank Trans March as well for making space for us to be here. And I think we are very lucky as San Franciscans and as Bay Areans to be in this center of change. And although it's easy to forget about it, you can feel it. You can feel the energy in this room. And how do we repurpose that? So let's wake up tomorrow with those intentions, and let's honor those who have given so much for us to be here now. And this is what it means to honor our ancestors in practice. This is it. Thank you.
Awesome.